Welcome, everyone, to the Executive Compass. This is where we get insights from executive firm founders. We'll dive into their story, how they got started, their challenges and opportunities, and how they're shaping their business for the future. For those of you joining this podcast, I'm Amisha Srimankar, founder of Vectra Growth Partners, and we work with executive firms in scaling the revenue via lead generation. Today's guest is Hank Levine, founder of Be Additive, and I am so glad to have him here. There's so much that we're going to unpack in this conversation. He brings so much of experience and history, and he's a serial entrepreneur. Hi, Hank. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, Michelle. I'm very glad to be on your podcast.
Yeah, thank you. How are you so far?
Fantastic. As I mentioned to you, we're finally going to go above freezing today. That's exciting.
I know, that is exciting. For those of you watching, Hank is in Maryland, right?
Right. So we've been
Yeah.
below freezing for 10 days in a row.
Yes, we're hoping and praying for sunnier days, and they're on the horizon. So, Hank, for people who are watching this or are going to be watching this later, do you mind doing a brief introduction?
No, I'd love to. So I am the founder and CEO of Be Additive. We are a family of companies that are involved in recruiting. So we have a staffing firm. We also have a knowledge process outsourcing firm that has subsidiaries in India and the Philippines. So that allows US and European companies to set up operations in those companies. It could be anything from marketing to software development to back office. But the most exciting thing we're doing is we have a software company called Be Additive Tech, and we're building a marketplace to funded startups to hire senior AI talent, but not locally, from offshore.
My gosh, that's you have your hands full, I can assume.
It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. It's really play for you. I love that. Take me back to when it all started for you. How many years have you been in this space, and what was your first company, and how did you get involved in executive recruitment?
All right. Well, I've reinvented myself many times, so I'm going to fly through my early career. So my first job, I did fusion energy research. That was my first job out of college. I worked with a bunch of PhD physicists. After grad school, I was one of the people starting early home automation companies, probably before our time, but we did some very, very cool things there. Then I worked in a succession of venture capital-backed software companies, mostly doing back office telecom software. But for the last 20 years, I've been in recruiting. And prior to Be Additive, I was the founder and CEO of a pretty large offshore recruiting company. We had about 950 recruiters. I exited that at the end of December 2023 to start Be Additive, mostly because I was really excited about getting back into software development.
Amazing. And which year was that? Last year when you started?
I exited end of December 2023,
2023.
but we started Be Additive, I believe, in March of 2024.
Excellent. And having worked with teams across the US, India, and the Philippines, and partner networks in so many countries, how has that helped you or shaped your understanding of what makes a great talent match?
Well, it certainly relates to the cultural elements of hiring people. I think that today's hiring market is just completely global. And companies who don't realize that are just missing out on the majority of the talent in the world. So I think what we're doing in our marketplace for senior AI talent is a great example. So I'll tell you how we got into that. As you're probably aware, the staffing industry has been very challenging the last 3 years. It's essentially been in a recession, and everyone's waiting for it to turn around. It may or may not, but there are always pockets that are growing. Right now, if you look in staffing, I think the pockets are healthcare, but also very senior AI talent.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're seeing is that there are startup companies raising unimaginable amounts of money. So much money I can almost barely even get my head around
Okay.
the numbers. And when you raise that type of money, your venture capitalists don't patiently wait for you to build a product. They are demanding that you start building the next day. And the challenge is that at the senior levels of AI, there is much greater demand for talent than there is supply. And these companies first have the challenge of the salaries people are commanding are unthinkable. They were replacing people who were making $300,000 to $500,000 a year.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
Okay.
but but even when these startups are willing to take a big gulp and pay that type of money, a lot of times these candidates don't want to work for startups, the tiny startups. They want to work for big tech because they think that's where the really interesting work is happening.
Yeah.
So even when you're willing to pay that money, you may not be able to get them. Meanwhile, the VCs are pounding on you, build, build, build. But at the same time, there is a very large pool of talent, both offshore and also nearshore in South America and Latin America. And there are people working for AI startups in those countries who would much prefer to work for a US or European based startup because it really builds their profile.
Mm,
If you're working locally, you just don't have the profile you do when you're working globally.
sure.
And furthermore, people in those countries can get a 30-40% pay hump by working for a U.S. startup. So they're eager to do it. U.S. startups are used to working with engineers working remotely. They get very, very good talent. They can hire it in 2 to 3 weeks. And it's usually 1/3 to half the cost of hiring someone locally. So it works for everybody.
Yeah.
That's what we're building. We're building a marketplace to facilitate that.
Excellent. So you're saying that most of your talent is overseas for these tech roles, these senior AI tech roles.
Yes, for the product that we're building, our AI hiring platform, it is overseas, either near shore or offshore. And we're launching our beta next month. We have a very fun contest going on right now. We're naming our platform. So we have 3 finalist names. We sent out a survey to about 5,000 people. We have about 2,000 responses, and we're going to pick the winning name.
Excellent. When does this platform go live?
And the next month, or actually this month now, because it's now February. So later this month.
Yeah, and can you tell us a little bit more about it? It is a talent marketplace, right? It's for yeah. Let's tell us a
Yes,
little bit.
so we're focusing on the needs of funded AI startups. So again, these are companies who have raised a lot of money. They need to hire senior AI talent. It's not too difficult to hire junior AI talent. It's the senior talent that's in very, very short supply. So they work with us. They create job orders on the platform. We have many, many registered, pre-vetted candidates on the platform. But we also have a big team of recruiters in India and the Philippines who, if we don't have a perfect match, we can work directly with the company and working through the platform, get the person hired and onboarded. We'll get them in compliance with the country where they're working from. We can provide equipment. So it's really kind of makes it very easy for the company. They just have to approve it.
Okay, great, fantastic. So tell me, are the roles is your niche mostly technical and AI related, or do you look into other niches or industries as well when you're recruiting talent?
So what we're being very, very focused in our niche for our hiring platform. So our only focus now is startups, funded startups hiring senior AI talent. So that's our beachhead. Once we get our beachhead solid, and we will move into other technical positions and ultimately other verticals.
I see. So that kind of explains how you would explain what Be Additive does in a nutshell if you are meeting a new client. Would that be accurate?
Well, that's what we're doing in our tech company, but we also have a U.S. staffing firm. We also have the knowledge process outsourcing firm. They're all related, right? They all help each other.
Yeah.
They're all people. Almost everyone in our company come from my previous company. I told you we had 950 recruiters. So we have a very, very experienced team. There's no one in our company with under 10 years of experience.
Wow. Wow. So tell me about your other companies now that we've talked about the marketplace, what you're building. What does your U.S. staffing company look like?
The U.S. staffing company is really a pretty traditional staffing company, mostly placing IT positions into corporations. So we work both directly with corporations. We also work through MSPs.
Mm-hmm.
Both. And we have a very experienced team with a lot of trusted relationships that have been built up for a long time. So we have that advantage that we know a lot of people.
Excellent. I want to switch tracks again to international talent. What do you think U.S. employers often underestimate or maybe even overestimate about tapping into those markets? in your experience?
Well, I don't find a lot of middle ground. There's some people who are opposed to it or scared of it or
Yeah.
don't understand how it will work. And there's other companies who really understand the advantage of it. There's just so much global talent. If you don't tap into it, you're cutting yourself out from 80% of your candidates. Why would you do that?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you. And with so many recruiting agencies out there, what do your best employer partners say the value about working with Be Additive?
Well, without a doubt, our best value is that we really understand how to hire and retain people in all these other countries. We can work in 43 countries, but the biggest area where we work is India and Philippines. In India, we've hired over 5,000 people. So, there are challenges hiring people in India. There are some games that get played.
Yeah.
We hire 5,000 people. I think we understand all the games. We understand the type of candidate who will be working multiple jobs, can't be trusted to work remotely and so forth. So we can sniff those people out pretty effectively.
Yeah. Walk me through your process of recruiting. How does that start when you're recruiting talent, say India or even the Philippines? What does that process look like? How long does it take? And how much are you personally involved in the recruiting process?
Well, I'm personally involved zero. but but the process of recruiting is pretty much the same anywhere in the world. It really starts with understanding your client, understanding their needs, understanding their urgency, and understanding the position they're hiring inside out. So that is hard to do without people. However, there's many, many other tasks in recruiting that you can now do much more efficiently with both on the account management side as well as on the recruiting side. So we heavily use all those tools in Be Additive, but we don't ever get rid of the human part of it because understanding clients' needs, understanding candidate needs is the same thing. You have to, if you want candidates who are going to stick around, you have to find their pain point, what they're really looking for, what makes them a good match. And if you still, you can do a first screen with AI tools that get you kind of a pool of people to talk to, but you still need good recruiters to really get the good match. And so there's still a lot of relationships. What I find happening in recruiting is with AI does not replace jobs, it replaces tasks. And there's a lot of tasks, especially tasks that are routine and redundant, that can be done much more effectively through AI tools than by people. And so if you combine the people with those tools, you can get at least double the productivity out of a recruiter or an account manager that you could get 10 years ago. And so we're able to scale our company hiring fewer people, which makes us more profitable. You're in a company that has thousands of recruiters, you might find yourself with an oversupply.
Yes.
And you'd have to cut. We're fortunately not in that situation because we started when this was all happening, so we just add.
Yeah. So it seems to me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you screen your candidates first through AI. So meaning, would that equate to interviews, phone interviews, 15-minute long, and then if they're a yes, then is that when a human recruiter gets involved and goes for the longer interview?
Yeah, my experience with using agentic phone screening is I think it works great at low-level jobs. In fact, I think a lot of candidates prefer it. When you get into the really senior roles, people don't want to talk to a bot. And so is it going to be that way in 5 years? I don't know. They might get used to it. Today, they still don't want to talk to a bot. But I think at low-level jobs, which we don't do a lot of, but if you're doing like industrial and your interview is, can you lift 60 pounds? Yes or no? You don't need a person to do that. But if you're hiring a senior data engineer, for AI, they probably don't want to talk to a bot.
Yeah. I'd love to know, you said that you focus mostly on hiring very senior roles in AI, and that's a cream, at the top, that's really in demand in the workplace. What are the skills and the backgrounds that you're seeing that differentiate the senior leaders who are doing something phenomenal with AI, they bring in that experience, versus more of an entry-level junior employee who is, in AI, but is it experience, is it skills, is it qualifications? What separates the senior most leaders versus the juniors?
You might be surprised to hear this. I would say it's their network. They
Really?
they know where to get. They know a lot of people. They know how to get things done, and junior people just don't have that network.
Hmm. Interesting. Can you
They're
expand
not,
a little bit?
these people aren't coding, right? And so, but they know how to build products, and they know how to, and they know how to talk to experts who can give them insights, and they know how to synthesize all this data and get things done. In fact, that's what I talk to a lot of junior people.
Hmm.
It's kind of shocking to me because, as I said, I've been in recruiting for 20 years. And for decades and decades, if you went to a good school, you got a computer science degree, you had your choice of like 7 or 10 jobs. Now you go to a good school and you get a computer science degree, and you might not get any job offers. And so we're seeing with AI, AI is just another language, like English or French, but writing computer code is even more structured than English or French. So AI is very good at it. And I watch our developers who do vibe coding,
Hmm.
and I know about it. I've been watching it for 6 months or so, but it blows my mind because they literally talk to their computer, they give it prompts, and in the background, you see the code being written on the screen. It's
Yeah.
astonishing to watch.
Yes.
Do you need junior people to write that first level of code? Not so much. You can build a pretty sophisticated app now with a subject matter expert, a product expert. By product, I mean someone who knows how to build, and 2 full stack engineers. A team of 4 can do what before you needed like 15 or 20 people to do. And so for these junior people, I think if the only language you know is computer science, at a disadvantage, you need to learn a second language. So that can be humanities, that could be sales, and you need to do what the senior people do, and that's build your network. So a lot of people in computer science aren't comfortable with that because they never had to do it before. And that's, they want to go and code.
Yes.
But but I am telling you, my advice would be go to your professors. Your professors all know business people, and tell them about your concerns. Tell them what your other interests are. Tell them that can they introduce you to people for informational discussions, not to look for a job, and just meet a lot of people and learn a second language. And when you talk to people, say, I'm not only good at coding, but I also know marketing because that's my second language.
Yes.
And you know what? Bells will ring in those people, and they'll say, by the way, my friend, she needs someone just like you. I'll introduce you. That's not, if your strategy for getting a job is to fill out a bunch of applications on the web, which will be read by bots and probably reject you, that's not a good strategy today. So you really, just like we talked about in recruiting, these people skills are everything.
Yeah. No, they most certainly are. And I'm just curious, is that something that you do coach candidates on when they come to you? Is that available through Be Additive or not?
Yeah, our recruiters would definitely coach candidates on that.
Okay. No, great. Good to know.
It's survival skill today, right? So, it is astonishing when you, as I said, you see someone who's gone to a top engineering school and they're like so excited to get one job offer, and they take it right away because they're really scared they're not going to get any more.
Yeah. Yeah.
That never used to happen.
Yeah. That's true. And I'm curious, what kind of candidates do you entertain when they come to you? Like, would they be very junior in their experience, or is it like mid levels, executive level?
So in the marketplace we're building, we're looking for senior AI talent. In our other parts of our company, we do place people mostly in tech positions, but we place them at all levels. And it's not just in the US. In fact, our largest clients are in Europe.
Interesting.
So, our largest clients,
Okay.
and we do a lot of their IT work. H&M, the clothing store, is a big client of ours. So a lot of work in Sweden.
Wonderful. I love it. Does your work take you to get you to travel, or do you do everything remotely within your office in the US?
I travel a good bit, but mostly because I like to. I love seeing new countries and new cultures. So even when I go to India and Philippines, I usually go on a little side trip for 2 days. Just get a private tour guide and go around.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. I'm curious, what parts of India have you been to?
India, I've been to India 60 times.
That's more even in one lifetime for sure.
Yeah, so pretty much everywhere in India. I was there a couple of weeks ago, and then afterwards I went to Malaysia for a few days, not for work, just to check it out.
Yeah. 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 No, that's great. There's definitely a lot of talent pool in Asia for sure. I mean, they're rich in their tech knowledge base for sure. On the flip side, I'd love to know, Hank, what is the advice? What works with employers now, your clients who are looking for talent? How do you step into that role as an advisory, saying this is what you should be looking for, this is not working, or this is working? How informed are they of their choices?
We try to make them very informed. All right, so it's a buyer's market now, whereas before, employers felt that they had to pull the trigger fast so they would lose a candidate. Very few people feel that way now, except for in a few niches that we've talked about. In most of these other jobs, you'll see employers sometimes doing 4 or 5 rounds of interviews.
I've heard that.
They never used to do that before.
Yeah.
If you did that, candidates wouldn't put up with it. But now candidates will put up with it. The big challenge in staffing is that there's very, very little churn. Employees aren't leaving their jobs and employers aren't firing them. So there's no job openings. Churn is actually good for the economy because you don't want employees staying in jobs they don't like, but today they will because they're scared they're not going to get a job. You want them to go where they can be more engaged and excited and productive, but there's just very, very little movement. There's also little movement, probably because of housing prices, because a lot of people are sitting on their houses because they have cheap mortgages and the interest rates have gone up, so they can't really sell their house very easily. So there's just not as much mobility. Mobility is good for an economy because resources should flow to the best opportunities. They're not flowing that much right now.
Yes. About the 4 to 5 rounds of interviews that you're seeing, that this is becoming the norm. Is it because companies are afraid to make the wrong decision in hiring, or is it because they are, quote unquote, shopping around for different candidates, which I believe they would be anyway? What is it that's kind of extended this hiring cycle?
I think it's mostly that they're not that scared they're going to lose candidates. If a candidate's going to get 3 job offers, you can't do that, because they won't take a chance to wait for round number 3 or 4. But if you're the only show in town, you can usually get away with it. And the more you interview someone, the more you get to know them. Presumably, the lower you of making a bad decision. So that's where the balance is. But it shifts, right? There's times when it's a candidate market. There's time when it's a buyer's market. It'll all shift.
Yeah, that's true. What are you seeing in 2026 in terms of job market, the hottest sectors? And I know you kind of touched upon a couple of these in the beginning, but what are the trends that you're seeing are going to take off, and what is not going to maybe work?
Well, first of all, if I knew that, I would be out of my job. I would just be investing. But I can tell you right now, jobs that, the sectors that are growing, as I said, are healthcare, senior AI talent. A lot of other areas are kind of flat. There's a few signs that they're picking up, but there's a lot of talk about, will AI destroy jobs or create jobs?
Yes.
And I don't know that anyone really knows the answer to that. You can look historically, and every sort of disruptive type of technology change, like when we went from an agricultural country to a manufacturing company, at first the change was in efficiency, which efficiency is a nice way of saying there were job cuts. People who worked on farms lost their jobs, but quickly those jobs were replaced through innovation in manufacturing. And as manufacturing came up, it turned out to be very good. People got much better jobs and much higher paying jobs in manufacturing than they did in agricultural jobs. Same thing happened in manufacturing. Manufacturing jobs were replaced through technology and also going offshore. And at first there was a move towards efficiency, which means job cuts. But then there were a lot more jobs created in services, white collar jobs.
Yeah.
And those were generally better jobs. Now, of course, at any time, there's a technological change. If you're not willing to move, right? Remember we talked about the most efficient markets are ones where labor markets are mobile and they go to where the opportunity is. If you're not willing to move, you're not in a good shape. So what's happening now is we're seeing another big technological change. And there's no question that AI is transformative. It's not stopping. It's not going away. It's going to change everything. All right, so if you're not on board with it, get on board or you'll be out of work. Now, AI is not so much removing jobs, it's removing tasks, which means that there might be fewer people doing jobs, and it's in the beginning of the efficiency stage. But there's going to be an innovation stage coming. I talked to you about vibe coding,
Yes.
how before it was very difficult to start a company, much more difficult. You had to hire a lot more people, you had to raise more money. Now you get a few people, you don't even have to be great at coding, and you can build an app.
Mm-hmm.
So but you do this with a smaller team. So engineering teams, I think, are going to be smaller. I think product management teams and program management teams are going to be smaller. But there's going to be a lot of people creating new businesses, new apps. And the question is, will those new businesses require a lot of people? Or will it all be done by agents, AI agents?
Yeah.
I don't know if people know that yet. So will this technological change be like the other, where you saw a fish followed by innovation that created jobs, or will it just be efficiency,
Mm-hmm.
cutting jobs with a lot of innovation, but the innovation doesn't create jobs? That's the big unknown.
Yes. Yes, you're right. And it's hard to tell right now if, like you said, if people will be completely eliminated. I mean, as even though we get sophisticated in our agents and all the things, I mean, I believe this is the optimist in me that we'll always need a human to oversee things or think strategically or think creatively, which maybe AI is getting there. Things are changing every day, but we're not there yet.
There's going to be all kind of new prosperity created through AI.
Definitely.
I believe most likely it'll also include people with jobs,
Yes.
but there is a dystopian view where all the wealth is concentrated in a very small number of tech bros in a very small number of countries, and that's not a good outcome.
No.
So let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, let's hope, right? You and I. I'd love to know what's been working well for Be Additive in attracting new employer partners or expanding into new geographies. Like, what are your plans for this year, and what are you looking forward to?
Well, the biggest thing we're focusing on this year, as I said, we're doing our beta launch of our marketplace end of this month. We want to do a successful launch. We're working overtime, trying to get that all set up properly, and we really want to build our beachhead this year. So we want to be the go-to place where people hiring senior AI talent, they come to our marketplace to do that. Once we build that beachhead and we have our brand and recognition, and then it's easy for us to expand. In our other parts of our company, we are doing the more traditional staffing. So we're looking for niches. Staffing firms do not create jobs; they go to where the jobs are. So if you're a good staffing firm, you need to be flexible. You need to be able to move to where the opportunity is, and not some of these jobs aren't coming back. AI is going to replace things. So if you've been doing staffing in those industries, you have to move somewhere where there's opportunity.
Yes.
Right? When it comes to our knowledge process outsourcing, where we build offshore teams for people, same things. We're working really hard at building teams of AI experts, particularly people doing with AI skills in areas like marketing, because there's a lot of demand for them.
There is, for sure. On a personal level, what kind of success stories from Be Additive Network resonate most deeply with you? One or two, if you could share.
One or two success stories. Well, one of the ones I'm happiest was I mentioned IKEA.
Yeah.
So IKEA had a big project being led by this senior AI person in Europe, who overnight just quit, and they had a really tight deadline, and they were very nervous, to say the least, because this guy was the key guy. And we got someone hired at 3 weeks at about half the price. They didn't actually technically go through our marketplace, but we were able to do that because we were vetting candidates for our marketplace and we had the people ready. And so we did a lot of manual processes that we're now building in the software, but we got that hired really fast and they loved us for that.
Amazing. That is a great story. Hank, this has been such a great interview. Thank you so much for being on the podcast and sharing all your wisdom and all the things that are ahead. Where can people find you and connect with you? Candidates and employers.
So www.beadditive.com That's our main website, or www.beadditivetech.com that gives for our marketplace. And you can reach me at hank.levine@beadditive.com or on LinkedIn.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. We'll put those links in there. But thanks for your time, and it's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Amisha, lots of fun. Thank you for having me as a guest.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.